I would like to sincerely thank the Isaac Regional Council, along with the Regional Arts Development Fund, for their support in bringing you this interview. The Regional Arts Development Fund is a partnership between the Queensland Government and Isaac Regional Council to support local arts and culture in regional Queensland. From humble beginnings, Blair and Josie Angus are trailblazing a new era for business in the bush. With 7 individual beef brands to their credit, they market their beef to more than 30 different countries and are about to open a $33 million abattoir on one of their home places. I caught up with Josie, who shared with me her passion for business, along with some childhood memories and how she copes with her demanding life. Josie, thank you so much, my beautiful neighbour, who astonishes me every day by hearing. And Josie, to me, like, you're just so forward-thinking and such a visionary, and you're so resilient. But I want to, and we're going to talk about the abattoir and that project, and business acumen and all of that, but I want to talk about your resilience first, because I think that is the crux of how you've lived your whole life. And I think that comes from your childhood. And I remember you telling me once about you asked your mum and dad if you kids could have a tennis court, and they said sure thing. So can you tell me about the tennis court? Because I think this is kind of where it all begins.
Well, thanks, Qld, for including me in your amazing video series, and it's from one resilient woman to another. It so much of me, I think, comes from a childhood that was really rich. I think the tennis court story. I was very fortunate to have a mother who could do anything and was extraordinarily brave in what she took on. And so she developed this husband who had zero concept that girls were any different or that there was anything a girl couldn't do. And so my dad was very short on instruction or tuition, and very high on expectation and outcome. So mum and dad, they rarely went on holiday, so I honestly can't remember where they were, but they left my sister and I and an auxiliary friend of ours, and said, yep, there you go, there's the theodolite, and build the tennis court. And we'd spent quite some time, I guess, bringing in and bed and rolling it, but the fence was, I guess, a bit next level, and so we all stared blankly at the theodolite, wondering how we were meant to use this to establish a level. But I'm not sure, it was the days before Google. I think that was, I wish Google existed in my childhood.
It would have been a long time before Google just.
But I think, we constructed a tennis court fence, and as 3 girls, stood back from our handiwork and were so proud of ourselves. We really, were smug. And then Dad came home and, squinted with one eye and looked down that line of posts and shook his head. There's, one post that's a quarter of a post out, and I think he referred to what he should do with the shovel, with us, and kind of shook his head and walked away. But that was my dad. He was a man short on praise as well, but I think his I think later on we very much learnt that I think you didn't require the praise. You only needed to think, hey, he left us to build the tennis court fence. Yeah.
But you girls went and physically collected all the ant bed too, didn't you?
And we did. From the start. So yes, I'm pleased to say that the fence is still standing even to this day. But I think our ant bed, I think when the kids moved away and there was no one left to roll it, I think they changed it to concrete. But it is. I think, those stories were throughout our childhood. I can remember, Dad saying to us once, you need to go and change the points on that Land Rover, and drove out in the other direction, and Ainsley and I stared at each other. Do you know what a point is? I don't know what a point is, but we lifted the hood and we worked it out because we weren't game not to. I do think that translates every day in what we do, whether that was, sending off our first export load and me looking at a set of export documents and going, really not sure what to do with this, but having, I guess, the bravery and I'm not sure what it's probably a more depreciative word to put in there, but just giving it a go.
Yeah. Joyce, do you think your dad was aware of what he was doing, or do you think he just was oblivious? He just thought this is the way it is and they should know what a point is and they should be able to build a fence? Or do you think he had a plan in the back of his mind?
It's hard to say. I think, I think obviously my mum was a big part of it. I think, I think she was so extraordinarily capable that I just think most of the time it actually didn't enter his mind that there was something that you couldn't work out how to do or physically weren't capable of doing. But he, but it did. It gave us an amazing childhood.
So it was really your mother's fault.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Joyce, I know how much your family means to you, and I know how much your mother meant to you. And I know how proud of her you were, and you always have said to me over the years about Mum could do anything, she taught us, she ran the place, she worked cattle in the yard, she put out lick, and her house was always spotless and there was always beautiful food on the table, and so yeah, it was a heck of a thing to live up to. No, but she, I feel like she's there a lot of days, and I think she always wore a scarf. So I think sometimes, if I'm feeling like I'm a little bit behind, you put on a scarf and you feel like you're a little bit invincible again. And she not only was so hardworking and so capable, but, her relationship with her friends and with children. She loved children so much. Yeah, I hope it wasn't just the hard work that we took up to. It was really, she was generous to other people. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I see that in you too. You always have, in amongst your crazy busy life, you always have time for people. So, yeah, it's a really nice trait to have. So, Joyce, the abattoir, I have watched you build this business because you're our neighbours. But was that always part of the end game, do you think? Or was it just a natural progression of how your business was evolving and evolved and...
I think, I do remember my husband telling me one day that, there was two things he didn't ever want to own in the supply chain. That was trucks or an abattoir. Here we are. But no, I think it has become a natural progression. I think, it's been, it's been a great journey, the beef business. It's added, and whilst, our entire family, probably still our primary passion is to jump on a horse and muster some cows. That's always the most favourite thing that we do. I think, building relationships with people overseas and throughout Australia and having people engage with your product, it's been a wonderful thing, and I guess that's been a 22-year journey, the branded beef. And so it did become a natural progression to say, hey, we think that we can actually take this further, and our end game is very much about how we can we can take every individual animal and take it to its fullest value and fullest utilisation.
Joyce, am I right? Do you export to 30 different countries? Yeah. And you travel so much, like you travel to all those countries and you build those relationships firsthand, don't you?
Yeah, and COVID's given us a haircut with that, but it is... that's been the best part of it. You know, I think, you know, when the kids were very little and we took them over to Qld in Paris and, you know, and to watch, you know, to watch the kids manning that stand and talking about their product when they were, you know, 12, 13 and to have, you know, chefs or butchers, you know, talk to them about how much they love their product. And I think too often as cattle producers, you know, probably some of the most feedback that we get comes on a sheet and it tells us everything that we did wrong, rather than, you know, rather than really having people engage with our product. And we've had some great times around the world. And I guess we didn't set out to deal with 30 different countries. We just kind of made some friends and some of them went to other countries, and it's amazing how word of mouth has taken us to, I guess, the majority of those markets now.
Jose, I mean, anyone can see how passionate you are and about the industry, and I think whatever industry you were in, you would be the same, whether you were in fashion or whatever. I do honestly believe it. You know, we're just fortunate that we have you
I'm well
here.
out of my depth there.
But you, amongst all you building this amazing business, you also have an incredible Facebook page. And I don't ever have to go, if I want to know and keep up to date with things that are happening in the industry, I just go and read your Facebook page, and you put such great, well-researched information on there. And I was reading I went on last night doing my research, but there was a post that I'd missed about vegetation management, and you quoted something from Oklahoma State University. And I will go on your Facebook page and I'll just say to Barry, where does she even know to find this stuff? Like, it's just makes my mind boggle, and honestly I feel so inept having, but it's a great tool for me as a cattle producer to read all that, because I don't have to go searching for it. I'm up to date because of you. But how do you find time to?
That's why my house is so messy. No, I do enjoy it, and I probably do waste a bit of time on it. I mean, it's such a beautiful industry with so many beautiful people that it's pretty easy to write about it. And there are so many great stories out there. I think, you know, I think so often we get that, you know, farmers aren't terribly innovative or, you know, but to me, I mean, endlessly, I look over the fence and go, wow, I wish I could do that. Or, you know, I drive through someone's place and I go, yeah, okay, I've got a bit of work to do. So, you know, I think it's, I enjoy writing about that. I enjoy sharing, you know, good stories, and I enjoy, I guess, in some way trying to stick up for, you know, for an industry that I really love. Yeah.
I just imagine how time consuming it is, though, just finding all that information. And so I want to ask you about your overload and how you deal with, you know, everything that you have going on, and you know, do you have tools that you? I'm not talking about a hammer. Oh, you're just going to smash it.
That's probably my most useful tool. I think, I mean, in a primary sense, I have 5 amazing tools, being a great husband and 4 great kids, who, you know, obviously are, you know, a huge part of everything that we do, and we're so fortunate that they're also involved. And then I am, unfortunately for your viewers, I'm about the most disorganised person in Australia. And I don't have any super tips other than I just, I guess, I do focus on the emergency and the priority. I work really well to a deadline, particularly when it's in a few hours' time. But I love what I do, so I think sometimes that can make you stretch beyond where you probably could be. I often overpromise and underdeliver, but yeah, I think sometimes, you can't sweat the small stuff. You've actually just got to focus on, okay, what is the big thing that I need to get done today? Otherwise, I'm going to get the sack. And I guess I just take it like that as I go along. And yeah, there's plenty of days where I, when I was teaching the kids, there was so many days where I went to bed at night and said, I should have prioritised them more today. I went to crack a whip for the first time on my horse for the challenge next week. Last night, that didn't go so well either. So, sometimes things come unglued, but you just keep going. Yeah.
Jose, do you ever wake up in the middle of the night and just can't go back to sleep and worry about things? So how do you, what do you do then?
I definitely do that. Depends how well I want to get on with my husband the next day, whether I wake him up and share. But no, I'm very good at actually doing that just immediately before we're about to go to sleep. That way I start snoring really well and he's lying there stressing. But no, I think... I do generally sleep pretty well, but I am an early wake up, and I do love that kind of 4:30 to 6:30 time in the morning. It's when I do my best thinking, and I do love that. But yeah, there's definitely days where I can get stressed, but I think the big thing is share. So give your stress to your husband, and that helps.
Jose, we were talking before, and I wanted to make sure it was okay for me to ask you this, but you have just a really great sense of being able to laugh at yourself, and you're really honest with mistakes that you've made. And I just really wanted to ask you the story about the car, because I often think of that, and when I'm feeling really silly and forgotten something, I just think back to you, and I use you as a
My name is way sillier.
So please share the story about the car, because it's so funny, and it just goes to show that you're not perfect.
No, long way from it. I was down in Brisbane, had hired a car. I can't even remember what for, and I'd been down there for a couple of days of meetings. And then I was on a really early flight back to home. So, raced out of the motel, jumped in a cab, went to the airport. It was 2-3 days later, I was home here. I think probably on a horse mustering, and the rental car company rang to say, are you returning that vehicle at all? I said, well, you might have to just duck around to the Stanford, I believe it's in the car park. So, I've forgotten cars, I've forgotten kids. I think mini school, I was somewhat infamous for leaving my children in random places and having forgotten them. But yeah.
I love that you don't try to hide those mistakes and that forgetfulness, and I think that comes just from having so much on your plate. But anyway, you're a real achiever, Jose, and I'm proud to call you my friend and my neighbour, and it's going to be an amazing business once you're up and running. I know one other thing I wanted to ask you, which I thought was really important, was you were telling me the other day about, and I'm sure this happens to you all the time, a man came up to you and said, this is never going to work and you're going to go broke. And so how do you deal with those, deal with those people that are saying that to you, and put it in the back of your mind, just keep going on and don't take on board what they...
I think, this obviously this project's been a long journey, and I think there's been any number of people who've doubted it from time to time, including myself from time to time, and I think I think we do remain reasonably, I guess, self-focused is not the right word, but I think I guess we can put the blinkers on sometimes and just go, actually, we're just going to, go down this route. And yeah, I think equally, as the number of people that have said, you're definitely going to go broke. There has been the people who say, wow, good on you. I can't believe you're doing this, and it's great. Somebody needs to do this kind of thing. So I think, you just kind of balance with those positives and keep moving on. And I think, I mean, even, some of the naysayers, I think, I think of our team in the office in Brisbane, selling beef, and our niece, who does such an amazing job. I'm pretty sure there's, a number of times in the last 6 years where she's gone, I wish Josie had, focus a bit more on signature beef for a while. This abattoir is definitely not going to happen. To see us come that full journey. And then, to be a part of it and to see that great building going up on the flat and everything getting so close, I think it answers itself in the end. Yeah.
And I think, I've often thought of it myself, like the advantage that you have is that you created your own market. So it's sort of self-propelling.
Oh, 100%. And to be embarking on this without markets, then would be a very different scenario. But, in that group of excited people are a lot of customers, and they are, terribly excited about receiving a product, that I guess is a bit next level, and having been on the journey, and even, for some customers who've been with us for an extraordinary amount of time, for them to feel a little part of it too, and their investment in us has made this happen as well. So
and I guess all that comes back to you've done your homework and you've laid the groundwork, and I guess that's whatever business people are embarking on. That's probably you have to go back to basics, don't you? And you have to, do your homework and lay that groundwork, which is what you've done so well, I guess.
Yeah, I think relationship is everything, in business, and my husband's way better at it than me. I can tend to bury myself in being a back office person and scrambling in spreadsheets and things like that. But being able to, build really strong, loyal relationships with people, has been, I think, the biggest thing that's helped us to get to this point. Yeah.
Very good. Thanks, Jose. Thank you very much
for
taking time out in your busy day.
Thanks, Qld. Lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching our video. I hope you enjoyed it, and please try to remember to just click on the subscribe button so we can keep you updated with everything that's happening. Thank you.